2 years ago, I could barely order a coffee in Spanish. I'd mumble, I'd freeze, and I'd forget everything I knew. Fast forward to today, I travel to Spanish-speaking countries and converse with locals, have conversation, and even crack jokes in the Spanish language. In this video, I am going to drop my tips and tricks on exactly how I got here and how you can too. Hola mi gente, soy yo, Kalia, and in today's video, I'm giving you all the resources that I used that helped me get to where I am today. I'm giving you my roadmap, resources you need to pick the right accent, find the right teachers, shows, dictionaries, and tutors, and even how to use Netflix the right way. Everything is either free or super affordable so that you can start today. First things first, choose an accent. Spanish isn't just one single way of speaking. In Spain, you'll hear vosotros and a lisp sound for C and Z. In Mexico, you'll hear different slang and more clear pronunciation. And in the Caribbean, you'll hear dropped consonants. So if you don't pick an accent early on, you'll end up sounding like a mixture of all of them, which in the end could make it harder for people to understand you. And not to mention, it could be harder for you to master pronunciation because depending on the dialect or accent that you speak with, they may pronounce things completely different. So you have to ask yourself this: where do you plan to travel to? What accent sounds the best to you? What kind of Spanish content do you like? Maybe you like reggaeton and Latin American media. Start with a Latin American act. Maybe you plan to study in Spain. Start with Castellano. Don't worry, you don't have to marry that accent forever. But for learning, stick to one so that your ear and your mouth can adjust. The second step would be to find a YouTube teacher. And the best way to pick this teacher is to pick a teacher that fits your learning style. If you are not too keen to pictures and audio and visuals and sound effects, don't pick a teacher that uses too much of that. I'm a teacher myself, and I know that if something's not working and my students are bored, it's because I'm not adjusting correctly to their learning style. You have to understand how you would like to be taught in order to understand what teacher is good for you. If the teacher is not working well with your learning style, then you're going to give up. It's going to be boring and you're going to quit. So find someone that is engaging and that you enjoy. I love finding YouTube teachers because it costs absolutely nothing and is perfect for regular input. Remember, everyone has a different learning style. Some like grammar explanations and some want full-on immersion. So dive deep and find somebody that is perfect for you. And remember to find a teacher that is speaking in the accent or dialect that you are trying to master. Some of my favorites are Why Not Spanish, Easy Spanish, and Butterfly Spanish. It's best to sample a few, subscribe to some, and watch at least 1 or 2 videos a week. Remember, consistency is key. The next step is to watch TV shows and movies. Now, do not make any mistakes with this because when you are watching TV shows and movies, if you are a beginner, I wouldn't suggest you watch something like La Casa de Papel, also known as Money Heist, because it's a little too much for your level. The Spanish of Spain, if you know anything about it, it's hard to understand for somebody who is not very far along in the language. It's very fast. They use slang, and it's just not good for a beginner. It's good if you want to turn on the subtitles and not really listen to the language, but if you're really trying to listen to understand something, then you need to find something that's actually on your level. So for beginners, I would suggest Extra. It's called Extra and it's on YouTube. And Extra really uses a lot of gestures and different images and repetition to really get the point across without the English translation. So if you are a beginner, I would suggest Extra. Some people say it's boring, but I think it's really quirky and cute. So if you want to do that, then that's a great idea for beginners. If Extra is not a show that's really engaging for you, then I would suggest you find a cartoon or movie that you are already accustomed to and already familiar with, and just change the language to Spanish and watch it in Spanish. For example, SpongeBob, also known as Bob Esponja in Spanish. If you're an intermediate learner and you're looking to move up from Extra, you can move on to something called Club de Cuervos. This is a lot faster than the learner shows, but it is still clear enough to follow with the subtitle. For advanced learners, I would suggest my favorite show in the world, La Casa de Papel, because it's filled with slang, suspense, and a really good plot. To switch it up a little, you can move on to podcasts or even the news. So you can watch the news in the target language, you can watch the news and find out what's happening in other countries, or you can listen to podcasts. And my favorite podcast right now to listen to is called Sin Traducir, without translation, and it it is a really good podcast because they talk about like general things in your life, and I feel like it really keeps me engaged. One of the girls, I don't believe she's Hispanic, but she speaks Spanish, so I relate to her. And then the other girl, I'm not quite sure where she is from. So they basically have a dialogue back and forth and have a good conversation. So if you're into listening to podcasts where you don't have to actually be watching it and you can just listen to it, that's really good for getting your ear accustomed to the sound of the language and differing accents as well. And a really good mini routine with these podcasts or even these TV shows and movies is after you've listened to the podcasts and movies, feel free to write down a reflection of what you just listened to or what you just watched. And while you're watching or listening to the podcast or watching the movie, feel free to write down words or phrases that you've heard again and again and again, because those types of words or phrases are probably words that are the most commonly used in a language, and you can use it when you're speaking the language on a daily. And even after that, you can read aloud what you have just written, and you can really practice that accent and that pronunciation that you are trying to master. The next tip is a really good Spanish dictionary, because listen, Google Translate doesn't always get it right. In fact, it barely gets it right. Best dictionary I have ever used is called SpanishDictionary.com. And I love it because it not only gives you a translation, but it also gives you a translation based on the dialect. So it'll tell you how to say peanuts in Spain. It'll teach you how to say peanuts in Latin America. It'll teach you so many different dialects where these words are said and how they're said in the phrases. Not to mention, it also has different games on the website. You can practice ser y estar. You can practice so many different things, like so much on that website. It's not only a dictionary app. You can actually get in real practice, conjugation practice. It's so good. You guys should definitely check it out. The next thing I'm going to say is that you guys need to use Netflix strategically. So there is a Chrome extension tool called Language Reactor where you can add it to Netflix and YouTube, and everything that you translate will be dubbed. It'll be in your language and it'll be in the target language. And as well as that, if you do just leave it in the target language, you are able to hover over the words that are coming across all the screen, and you are able to see the translation in context. So everything I share so far is free, but the next thing that I really want to talk about, and that was really helpful, especially for my Turkish language journey, is getting a tutor. So I use tutors through italki, but you can find tutors on italki or Preply, and there are tutors for as low as $8 an hour. So feel free to get a tutor when you see fit, and you can get this tutor once or twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a month, wherever you see fit. A lot of people do like to study on their own, but if you are looking to engage in conversation or you have some questions that are always unanswered, feel free to hire a tutor or just somebody that can help you have a good conversation, a back and forth, and if you might find a friend in them as well. They can help you with your diaries. If you guys write diaries and you want somebody to correct your diary, this is a great person to go to. And also, if you just don't have any structure in your language learning journey, they can also help you with that. I would say that you guys can think of it as a personal trainer for Spanish, because 1 hour with a good tutor can save you from weeks of frustration. So there you have it, guys. My complete toolkit from learning Spanish from the very beginning. Pick an accent. Find your YouTube teacher, watch shows at your level, listen to podcasts, and use a solid dictionary. And also, get a tutor when you're ready, and make Netflix your classroom. If you found this helpful, dale like, and share this with a friend who is also learning Spanish. Comment down below which of these resources that you are going to try first. I'd love to hear from you. I always say, don't say I never told you anything. I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.